This video was made possible by your support on Patreon. Brian is a 30-year-old YouTuber who drinks alcohol once a week. Recently, he's noticed trouble sleeping, and thanks to a recent smartwatch purchase, he's become more aware of his heart rate. His resting heart rate usually stays around 75 beats per minute. This is within the normal range, but he's a young guy. He knows that a low resting heart rate is indicative of good cardiovascular fitness, so he decided to do something about it. Assuming a relationship between the alcohol, sleep, and heart rate, Brian decided to give up alcohol cold turkey and tracked his results on his smartwatch. Within a few days, he noticed a trend in his resting heart rate. 75 beats per minute became 70, then 65, then eventually down to 60 beats per minute where it hovered. And wanting to keep the health improvements going, Brian enrolled in a local gym and started exercising multiple times per week. As his body adapted to exercise, his resting heart rate dropped even lower, eventually getting into the low 50s and high 40s. Brian's case got my attention because he made two changes around the same time that are both known to result in a lowered resting heart rate. So how much of his new heart rate was from quitting alcohol and how much was from exercise? Resting heart rate depends on a lot of factors, and everything from fitness, disease, alcohol, and caffeine consumption can change it. Brian is otherwise healthy and doesn't take any medications that affect his heart rate, so his resting heart rate is pretty straightforward. The heart's main pacemaker is the sinoatrial node. Sino for sinus, atrial for atrium. It's a bundle of heart muscle cells that send electrical impulses through the rest of the heart. This thing keeps the heart beating at a steady 60 to 100 beats per minute, but of course, it can be sped up or slowed down. The SA node is influenced by the two branches of the autonomic nervous system, that branch of the nervous system that you don't consciously control. These influences can be part of the sympathetic nervous system and make it beat faster, or part of the parasympathetic nervous system which make it beat slower. In a healthy person, heart rate is ultimately the result of these two influences, the speed up and the slow down. The main nerve we care about in this video is the awesomely named vagus nerve. It comes off the brainstem, down the neck, and hooks up to the sinus node and the atrioventricular node. If this thing is doing its job, it'll keep the heart rate comfortably low. So let's get to our case study. Our data is coming from his Fitbit, and according to a community moderator on the Fitbit message boards, this device measures resting heart rate both during sleep and during inactivity, when it detects no steps. Heart rate changes based on which phase of sleep you're in, so they sprinkle some algorithm on top of it and it comes up with a number. It doesn't matter exactly how they get it as long as it's consistent, since this is the number we're comparing over time. So after you drink alcohol, your heart rate speeds up. This is something that happens in nearly everyone, and quite a bit of research has looked into it. A review from 2011 looked at research that investigated the short-term response of alcohol consumption in healthy, non-alcoholic participants. While all the studies measured outcomes in slightly different ways, 6 studies found an association with alcohol consumption and increased heart rate, while 3 found no change. None of them found that alcohol slowed down heart rate. We've known about this association for a long time, so to get a more nuanced understanding, researchers started studying the balancing act between the sympathetic and parasympathetic influence on heart rate, and each study measured that balancing act differently. One of the most common ways to study that balancing act is to look at something called vagal tone, or how well the vagus nerve can conduct an electrical signal and slow down heart rate. And you can see it in action if you hook someone up to an ECG, a device that measures the electrical activity of your heart. That classic little waveform you've seen on medical TV shows is a sinus wave, usually. Sometimes they're really bad. But this indicates a normal rhythm where the sinoatrial node is operating as usual. And it's usually beeping along like a perfectly constant metronome. But in reality, no heart beats like a perfect metronome. Sometimes it's extremely consistent, sometimes it's off by a few milliseconds. We measure that with a metric called heart rate variability. I'll explain. This circle is clicking along at a constant rate. If our sinus wave had 0 variability, it would land perfectly in the middle every time. But now let's introduce low variability. It's still pretty steady, it's only off the mark by a few milliseconds. But now, add even more variability, and it's all over the place. It's still firing at a constant rate, but the heartbeat is far from a perfect metronome. Now, I know it seems counterintuitive, but for most health metrics, a high variability is associated with good outcomes. It shows that your sympathetic and parasympathetic systems are well matched. Back in that meta-analysis, 6 of the 8 studies of healthy, non-alcoholic participants concluded that alcohol consumption was associated with an overall decrease in heart rate variability. The heart acted more like a consistent metronome, indicating that the parasympathetic activity was lower and sympathetic activity was the main system keeping pace. 2 of those studies also concluded that sympathetic activity was increasing. The main takeaway is the same though. Alcohol speeds up heart rate because sympathetic activity dominates over parasympathetic activity. And so far, we think that's because alcohol inhibits the main parasympathetic input. So alcohol doesn't necessarily speed up heart rate, it inhibits its slowing down. This change in heart rate variability also explains why chronic alcohol consumption affects your quality of sleep. A study from 2006 looked at 28 male participants, 14 alcohol dependent and 14 controls, and recorded their vagal tone with an ECG and sleep quality with an EEG for a single night sleep study. They found that alcohol-dependent subjects had decreased vagal tone right before falling asleep and while they were sleeping. They also found that alcohol-dependent participants self-reported worse sleep quality and more sleepiness and fatigue in the morning, kind of like waking up with a hangover. Got it. Alcohol consumption screws up sleep quality. So after Brian quit drinking, his heart rate plateaued around 60 beats per minute. That's when he started getting serious about exercise and started doing CrossFit and running. For those unfamiliar, CrossFit is mostly strength training, but does have a cardio component to it. Now, according to a 2018 meta-analysis, just strength training doesn't impact resting heart rate. It has plenty of other benefits, obviously, but aerobic exercise like running or bike riding are the most impactful for reducing resting heart rate. The biggest adaptation is an increase to cardiac output, equal to heart rate times stroke volume. Basically how much blood your heart is pumping every minute. As you do more intense aerobic exercise, your body has to adapt to an increased demand for oxygen delivery. You can't increase your maximum heart rate, so the only way to increase cardiac output is to squeeze more blood out of your heart with every pump, or increase stroke volume. To accommodate more blood per pump, the chambers of the heart have to stretch a bit, and this stretch on the heart muscle cells allows them to contract more forcefully. This ultimately squeezes out more blood per heartbeat. If you want to get nerdy, this whole stretch mechanism is something called the Frank-Starling law. It'll probably be on the test. Bringing it all together, Brian's resting heart rate kept going down because his improved fitness caused his heart to pump more blood per pump. That allows the heart to pump less frequently to deliver the same amount of blood at rest. And finally, we can't untie alcohol and exercise from all the other factors in one's life like stress. Chronic stress elevates resting heart rate, but that's harder to get data for. Now, researchers have studied whether endurance exercise has any effect on parasympathetic activity, that thing we were talking about before. But the evidence so far says that it doesn't have any effect. Interestingly, the only known exception might be yoga, which is probably a testament to its ability to reduce stress. But I want to hear from you all. If you drink, do you notice a change in your heart rate? How about the quality of your sleep? Let me know in the comments. My supporters on Patreon got access to this video a few days ago, so if you want to join this list of generous people, head to patreon.com/corporus and you can unlock perks for as little as $2 a month. If you're not in a financial spot to do so, you can always support this channel for free by sharing this video and subscribing. Have fun, be good, thanks for watching.